What's up, Those Boys fans?
What's up, guys?
Do us a big old favor. If you've been watching a lot, then you know what I'm about to say. Subscribe.
Yeah, you better hit that subscribe button immediately.
I mean, I'll also hit the like button.
Yeah.
Hit the subscribe button.
Comment.
Like, subscribe.
Comment. Also, we haven't said this one. Hit that share button and share this to your socials.
Yeah, send it to your mom.
Yeah.
Send it to your dad.
Definitely send it to your mom.
If you have parents that are interested in us, send them this podcast. 3, 2, 1. Subscribe. We did have an interview. I mean, right now we can decide. I think that, yeah, because this is all Zoom. It's just going to be like coming in here. But like, do we want to say that we had an interview and then we'll like cut into it? Yeah, let's just do that. What episode is this?
Oof, this is our Christmas episode too.
Oh,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. How about this? Snow.
Snow. Snow.
That's it, man. Yeah. I'm
dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the sinners glisten and are not pleasant.
We're caroling right now for the cast. Episode 18. Welcome, TBs. Yeah, we did. We just had our very first interview / not really an interview. I guess it was a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we first started this cast, we didn't really have our podcast. We didn't have really any idea of the heck we were going to do. And it started off like talking, I don't know, shooting the shit about music, politics, jokes. We were in the living room in the house, the first cast.
For many of the casts, we were in the living room until episode 8.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The first 7 were in your living room.
Can't even remember.
I got some flashbacks to them the other day when I was going through some shorts, or they just came up.
Were they good flashbacks?
I mean, all our content's so good.
When I flash back to it, I feel like innocent already. It's like, oh, that's right. Episode 1 and 2 was innocent because it's like, well, we're just having fun. Let's just hit record and talk.
Content.
Now it's like, okay, religious trauma. Okay, the church.
Yeah.
Okay, I have pain.
Yeah.
It's like so
much more. So it takes so much more. You used to just be like, hey, man, doesn't really care what we talk about.
Let's just go. Well, actually, I think the last cast, that's what we did. We just said like, we just hit record and
we're also just getting better at it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you should say you're getting better at it. Say that.
I'm getting better.
You're getting better.
And so are you.
We are getting better. We're getting so good and moving productively into what this cast and what we want it to be. And what, if you've been watching, we thank you so much for being here and a part of it. And we're very excited this cast as we've been preparing for this one. It being our Merry Christmas podcast and our very first Zoom interview with a stellar young man named Austin out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he actually lives...
I don't think he's out of St. Louis.
He's not out of St. Louis. He's from a small
Farmington
town. It's called Farmington.
Yeah.
Farmington, Missouri.
Yeah.
And before we cut to the interview, which was about 40 minutes, it was a really wonderful conversation. Yeah. What do you think our goals are? Like, I know that we've already had the conversation. And so how do you feel about it? I mean, what are our goals talking with people on this cast? What was like...
Well, that one in specific, to be specific, is just to get the input of someone in a different state, a completely different set of circumstances. The only similarity really is his dad is a pastor, was a pastor, still now is a pastor again. And obviously has different traumas than we talk about, but also a lot of very similar traumas, and kind of just building this community of people raised in this religion that have now trauma in their older age. And Austin's 20 and he's just coming out of it. He's getting out of it. And I mean, they'll see in the interview, but he's just such a strong 20-year-old kid. I've been the whole time when we were talking to him, I was just reflecting on me at 20, and I couldn't conceptualize the ideas he was conceptualizing yet, and accepting my own thoughts and all those things. I just wasn't doing it yet, and I couldn't. And so I just,
well, what we're already talking about, I mean, you're speaking great stuff. Why don't we just cut?
Yeah, let's get
we're
right
going to cut to the interview right now. This is Austin.
We should probably mention that we initially found him through. God, why is my mic doing that today?
I don't know, man, but don't let it get in the way.
Yeah,
don't let the mic get in the way, bro.
Don't let the mic get you down, dude.
Don't let the mic get
We
in the way.
originally found him through the Reddit.
Stop touching your mic, bro.
Through the Reddit forum that we've been using to research religious trauma and find some people
just
out
to
there.
Connect with the community,
Yeah, connect
right?
with this
Which
community.
we talk about in the interview of how we met Austin.
Yeah.
And so hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you back here when the interview's over.
Definitely.
Thank you. We, I think one of our there's this thing called a cloud lifter that takes out all the white noise from the mics. And you go from like one end to another end, and then it clicks in, and we're pretty sure that got flooded out. So God 1, us 0, but that's all right.
We got it working.
All right, let me just make sure we're all going here. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. Enjoying my weekend.
Yeah, happy Saturday evening for you.
Yeah. I was gonna say I only get Saturdays and Sundays off every week, so I've just been relaxing, did grocery shopping.
Where do you? So you go to? Is Walmart kind of like the go-to for most things?
Well, I live in a pretty small town, so it's kind of like the only place for most things. We have like an Aldi's and a Schnucks, but it's way overpriced for everything. So
maybe it's so easy to talk with you. So maybe before we even start talking, I'm hearing a little bit of buzzing. Are you good?
Well, no, my mic was off for some reason.
Oh, you're back though.
I'm back now.
So yeah, how you feel? You feel good? You look good on our screen, so that's awesome.
I do.
We look okay. So if you can see us, you can hear us.
Yep.
You feel good?
I feel good. Yeah. I mean, it's just typical. Every time we start doing something and we have issues, it's tough to kind of get back in the flow of things because we were just lost in it, you know?
Sometimes I almost feel like, though, when it's really difficult, like because of all this shit that gets in the way, you're almost like better off because you're like, fuck it, we made it this far. Let's just go for it.
We got his audio working. It doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and start it off because I think that at some point we'll use some of this B-roll, but we'll try to keep this as presented as professionally as possible. But like I told you, Austin, we're going to click into like, are those boys? But this is the conversation, and we'll try to guide together as much as possible. Anything that's said that you're not okay with or something that you are expressing that you later don't feel comfortable with, this is going to be coming out, I think, in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, we could always take anything you want out.
Yeah, and so I'll be editing the main cast, and so just know that we're in this together. Obviously, this whole beginning is kind of how I think the editing should go too. Is just know that there's freedom there, and of course, our focus is religious trauma syndrome, but that wasn't our focus when we started this thing, and so just like
Yeah, I remember looking through guys' channel and everything, and it seemed just like you guys started out talking about like sports or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
we were just building content, getting the content portfolio. Yeah. It wasn't until after the Halloween cast we met with our graphic designer, and she was like, "You guys, when you talk about religious trauma, people are going to vibe it," and we thought about it, and
why? Like, I don't know. Before we even, do you vibe this channel because of the religious trauma? Like, is that like something does it stand out? Or what do you think?
For myself, it's not really talked about that often in like general, like most people who haven't experienced it don't really talk about it. It's not like cancer where like everyone talks about cancer, So
interesting comparison. I like the comparison.
Well, it's maybe not as bad, but
I don't know, man.
So just seeing like a whole like show centered around it, it just pretty refreshing, and haven't seen anything like it before, man.
Awesome.
Just when I found that subreddit, that's how I felt same way. I was like, oh, there's a lot of people, experienced what I experienced. I didn't know, honestly, that there were so many people who were dealing with it as well,
Yeah. No,
Right.
totally. Especially that thread. I remember when Nathan found that thread,
The forum.
the forum. I just hopped on and I was like, wow, I didn't know this many people like went through.
And I think
the
that
same
the
shit.
forum only has maybe
1,000,
2,000,
maybe 2,000.
Yeah.
And so that's, if you're, how old are you again, Austin?
I'm 20.
So I don't know. Because I'm 32, but when I see views, it's like, or like people that follow channels, it's like 2,000 followers. You're like, these are just beginners. Here we are with like 270 subscribers, and we're like, please. So like when I joined that forum, I was like, oh, it's a small community. But then I really thought about it. I was like, 2,000 plus people. That's a pretty big church. So if I thought of like the religious, it's a pretty big church. And
yeah, I mean, you get 2,000 people, in the same place, and it's a lot more than it is on paper.
Totally.
So,
just to give it a little more context, the religious, we've talked about a lot on our channel. The Religious Trauma Forum is on Reddit, and I had mentioned many podcasts ago that I was using that channel or that forum as a way to find a community, and which is where we found you, Austin.
Yeah.
I was at work. It was an extremely busy day in my nursing job, and I was flipping through the forum on a break in between patients, and I saw your post, and I was affected by it. It got me really worked me up. I had like a visceral response to your really I don't know, distinct and elaborate way of describing a lot of your childhood in such a short amount. And it just seemed like whatever you were doing, it was extremely vulnerable, and I clicked with it. And so I just messaged you, and that's how you and I met, right? It was through this forum. Yeah. We use that forum on this podcast. We use Reddit a lot. And I just think that alone is amazing. And I wanted to say thank you for being here. And
I appreciate it, guys. Seriously.
No, we really appreciate having you, man.
It's a big deal. It's we're nervous in all the right ways, because I think we're nervous talking about religious trauma in general. And so now that we're kind of branching out, I wanted to give you just to go ahead and maybe tell us a little bit about you, where you live. Go for it.
I mean, well, I guess where I'm from is like the whole like Southeast Missouri area. And Missouri is pretty strange because you go to northern Missouri, it's a lot different than, towards the boot heel and everything. And, towards the more where I live, it's more like the traditional, kind of southern, hospitality and all that stuff, but also like Bible Belt culture in general. Like, I mean, it's a small town. We got like 20,000 people in the town I live in, but there's churches everywhere.
When you say Bible Belt, that's so what? Missouri is probably the Bible Belt. Do you know like the other states next to you that are part of the Bible
just
Belt?
Mostly southern states. I know that, like Alabama, Georgia, just like all through there.
Louisiana,
so,
maybe
Indiana is pretty Bible Belt too.
So you're in Missouri, and I think on the cast we're going to right now put up a map, because over here in California we suck at geography.
I was going to say it's a flyover state. So I don't know.
Flyover state. No, I mean wouldn't be a flyover state if you're here on the cast, Yeah, St. Louis. I think everyone knows St. Louis, Missouri.
I think that's like
what's the team? Is there a baseball team?
There's a football team,
right? St. Louis, they're a big team too.
Yeah.
I think they won. I don't know, but
I was gonna say they won like some World Series.
Okay.
We used to have the Rams. The Rams used to be St. Louis football
so
team.
where are they now?
That's what it used to be.
Where are the Rams now?
I thought they moved out to LA, but they might be in Florida or something. I'm not sure. They weren't that great of a team. So,
are you a football fan?
I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I'm not like super hardcore.
You don't have to be a football fan. I'm not a football fan.
But I thought that was like code. It's like you go to church, right? If you're in the Bible Belt, which you're saying you are. It's
you go
like
to church and you like football.
Church in the NFL, church in college football. Is that? I don't know. I mean,
that's a fair assumption to make, though. But I mean, a lot of people from this area are like that. But for me, I was always just kind of more into like the arts and that kind of stuff in high school. I was in like theater and like choir and all that stuff. I was in my town. And my town's literally called Farmington. Is the name of
Farmington with an F.
Yeah.
Farmington. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great name.
Yeah. Welcome to Farmington.
Yeah, I just finished playing
Yeah.
Farmington.
But it's
So you were-
surprisingly enough, we have like a good amount of like dance studios here in town. So
Wow.
I joined one of those about halfway through high school. I was invited to be like a partner for like the girls who were actually studying dance and everything. And that was actually a pretty pivotal moment in like my whole high school experience. Because like freshman, sophomore year was pretty rough, and then I got invited to that. I started actually like making friends and meeting people, and seeing the outside world.
Oh yeah.
So
the outside world through dance studio.
Interesting.
yeah, it really opened me up to everything, to everyone I know now. I can all kind of trace back to that moment.
How old were you in that moment?
I was 15. I was 15.
Gotcha.
And I was going through, I'm still going through a rough period with my dad. That's just kind of how it's always been.
Yeah.
But it was in that kind of moment, I was it was pretty bad. So
Yeah.
I was prepared to just run away. That was my plan. I was going to pack a bag and just hit the road and disappear.
So
But,
when you're like what, 15, maybe junior year of high school, is that what you're talking about?
I was sophomore. I was kind of young for my
Sophomore
class. Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're saying. When you say it was hard, because I think that like I want you just to keep going, but if just for as best as you can in your sake to just like, was it like your experience in the church? Where are we at in the church here? Were you I think I read in your post that you're saying your dad was a pastor. So at this time with the dance studio, maybe you can start there. Where exactly were you at in the church scene?
In the church scene, it was kind of a back and forth thing. I actually wanted to play football in high school, but my dad made me go to church camp instead the summer that they started. So so every time I went to church camp, I would come back like on fire for the Lord and all that stuff. And so like usually by Christmas, I was, back to just how I was acting before. So, I mean, they call it backsliding, but I call it withdrawal from a echo chamber, basically, of ideas.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
So,
well, and kids of that age, man, are so vulnerable. It's so easy to give like an outlook or like an opinion on, oh, here's Christianity and here's something you can kind of have like a vice on when you're so like a needy 15-year-old emotional boy and going through a bunch of mental stuff and family stuff. And then there's Jesus that gives you hope. And it's like, okay, well, that's got to be what it is. And then you dive deep into it and get lost in it.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was just kind of a back and forth thing. And I mean, you bring up a good point. Whenever I kind of hit a roadblock or an obstacle, my parents never trained me on how to overcome that. They just told me to go back to the church and ask the Bible what to do.
Yeah, keep praying.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did for a long time. Is I just would suddenly become very extreme. Be reading the Bible every day, posting about it on social media all the time, and then
like posting on social media, like Bible verses, like
like Bible verses and stuff like that.
So you were a go-getter, like back in the church days. You were like fire to brimstone. Let's get it.
I was preaching, but I think by the age of like 11 or 12 was when I preached like my first sermons. Yeah,
for like a whole church.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
I opened a youth group at a different church. I was like the first. It was the first night that they had, and I was preaching, and I was preaching in the youth group at my church, and they had like a youth Sunday where it was me and like two other younger people preaching. We kind of like tag teamed the whole Sunday morning, but I mean, the church I was raised in, it was about like 800 people. So
you're 11 years old. Can you remember? Were you like excited about it? Was it like, did you feel chosen? Were you like 11 years old teaching? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, people said for a lot of different reasons, like, oh, I need to follow in my dad's footsteps because he's a preacher. But it also really it made me feel special. And I felt set apart from all the other kids, and it definitely played with my head a lot. I feel like I went through a lot of like problems with like humility and just admitting when I didn't. Whenever I was admitting my shortcomings is what I'm trying to say. And
you're
I
saying like it
almost-
helped. You think it helped you do that, or you had like a harder time admitting your shortcomings because of that?
I had a harder time for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was told by a lot of different people I was destined to grow up and like be a mega church pastor and all this stuff, and my dad's second cousin, she actually says she had a prophetic dream about me before I was born. So, I mean,
before you were born.
Yeah.
You're like the immaculate Jesus Christ himself.
I know. I was just saying, I'm like the Dalai Lama. So
Yeah.
But yeah. So all that stuff really it took a long time for me to realize that I have to work just as hard as everyone else. Like I'm
yeah.
That stuff doesn't set me apart in any significant way, really, other than what I thought in my head.
Yeah. Right. No, totally. And that savior complex that you're bringing up is something that me and Nathan, we've struggled with, I think, until about 30.
Well, we're struggling with it right now doing this cast.
Yeah.
Like, even before we even, what's funny with you, when you're talking, Austin, just about like 11 years old, like my son's 11 years old. And so like you saying that, I think a lot about my life is about like 11, 12, would you say? Like when I started having like memories and visceral reactions and like thinking like, right. I really enjoyed this, but what does this mean? And like, still, it was hard to like connect the dots. And yeah, it's just wild, the pressure. I remember like junior high, I was president of the Christian club at my junior high, like 7th and 8th grade. And like our dad being a pastor still. And so that what you're saying, I relate to a lot because I don't know. Do you feel like you had that pressures? I know that dad put me in positions.
Oh, dude, I thought I was going to be a missionary. I thought I was waiting to die for Jesus. Like that was my life. It was, I can't wait to be shot for Jesus.
But were you ever asked to like do a preaching session?
Not as much as you were. You were put more in that limelight. My social anxieties were more obvious. And so mom and dad just kind of knew that I would be.
Because you have a way with words, Austin. You are a preacher. I mean, you could do this if you wanted, Like
I've been told that a lot, that I am good with words, and I honestly do accredit it to my upbringing and being raised by an orator, and my mom is pretty well versed in like music and singing and all that stuff. So it's definitely had an impact on me and just how I think about things. And like, I kind of struggle to turn off like my deep thinking. I always kind of, I struggle to just think about things at a surface level, and to keep things simple. Like things are always more complicated in my head.
Yeah, tell me about it, man.
Sometimes things are actually just more complicated, and I feel like everyone else is making them simple.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's okay to be deep and to be thinking either like philosophical or spiritual about anything you want to. I think it's the world that's trying to make you think superficial and simple when you're raised with this big idea since birth. To be thinking such big ideas, it kind of forces you to be a big idea thinker the rest of your life, because how else have you been taught to think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like trying not to put too much weight or pressure on things that are simple, and then putting way more weight on the things that are complicated that we are like told, don't look at, don't talk about that, don't do that. And it's like, those are actually the things when you get to them. I think that you're saying like admitting your shortcomings. How do you learn to like admit your shortcomings to your partner or a friend or yourself, even internally, after being shut down, right? And saying, no, don't worry about like that type of stuff. That's when it starts to feel complicated and anxieties and all of that. But
I mean, I would, you bring up a good point there. I would say it's even more difficult to talk about your mistakes and your shortcomings when a lot of times in my childhood, whenever I did have like mistakes and stuff like that, I was often reacted from my parents with anger or, very strict authoritarian household. And, and depending on how bad it was, religion was brought into it. So like if I just, made like a white lie, then it was only like a belt to my ass. But if it was, something bigger, then, oh, you need to go to church camp. You need to go to church 3 times a week, So,
Yeah.
How did that make you? How did that make you feel then? Like getting a belt to the ass, which is wild, and or being forced to go to church as a punishment, right? Basically, is what you're saying. Which one would you prefer? Can you even ask that? I mean, like, was there a difference? Did they? I mean,
I honestly would. I'd prefer the fucking whooping. Like,
yeah.
I
mean,
had a
especially
feeling.
like looking back on it, I'd prefer the whipping now.
Yeah.
I mean, because like I was punished, like, and there's like punishments, like being a parent is like whatever, but like using God or the church as a way to be like, you've done wrong, so you need to go here, and we're forcing you to go there. That's like a punishment. Your punishment is the Bible.
Yeah.
Your punishment is like
Right.
forced religion. Can you elaborate in those moments when you were at the camps? I mean, were you able to connect when it was a punishment? Were you able to be present? Did you have anxiety, anger?
I honestly, whenever church camp is really strange to me. Have you guys ever seen that documentary, Jesus Camp?
You know what?
We want to watch it.
We want to watch it on our
It's so
cast.
good.
Yeah.
It's really good. But and that documentary goes into it about. I feel like it's almost just this conglomerate, like group think, like mob mentality. That even if you aren't willing, whenever you're sent there initially, they take away your phone. I mean, you're not allowed to see anyone, like, or talk to anyone that's outside of that camp. You go to chapel like 3 times a day. The boys and girls are segregated the whole time.
So this is basically, you're talking about the camp you went to. You're equating, or you're saying it's basically watch that documentary. That was the camp.
Yeah,
you
like
sent to.
it's definitely like a brainwashing scenario. I've always felt
Sure.
that it's. I mean, if you're surrounded by one idea and one set of rules and like an echo chamber, then of course eventually you're gonna start believing it. I mean, that's
it's that brainwashing,
right.
So then you'd show up and you'd be maybe pissed, scared, anxious, and then by the end of it you'd be like riled up for Jesus.
Yeah, ready to go, ready to on
Usually.
fire
So it
for
worked.
Jesus.
So the system worked.
Oh yeah,
For children.
Well, yeah, it's pretty easy to indoctrinate kids. I mean, and I think that a lot of these churches have figured that out. But from their perspective, it's all good what they're trying to do. They don't see the harm that it can cause the kids. So for them, like, oh, indoctrination's fine. When to most of the world, that's not exactly okay to do to kids. But
I mean, there's a lot of countries and religions that do it, I think. And like, one of the things that, we connect on is like, we're talking about Christianity, right? And there's all these different types, I guess, intensities. And so you growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, we went to 3 camps a year, every single year.
If not more.
And
they were just a little different though, because it was either normally our youth group with one other church, but these big camps where they would do all those things.
It was just cooler. I think like the way you're talking like about the Jesus camp and like the intensity of this indoctrination is, we would have hour to 2 hours studies. You'd have to have an hour devotion in the morning. But it was like they incorporated so much fun and activities, and like we'd prank each other. So it was like a real camp experience, but while being mixed with like really cool bands and sexy worship leaders and like awesome youth pastors that are like, welcome my friends, gather around the fire. We're going to get started, brothers.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is
like
sick.
super charismatic, super like have a great sense of humor. Like they're basically doing stand up, during the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's looking back at those times, there's some of the craziest, moments when it comes to just being completely immersed in the religion.
And was your dad a pastor your entire life? So your entire life, like being alive, was there a time he became a pastor or got way more radical?
I don't think he's ever been less radical he's always been that way as long as I can remember. Whenever I was really young, that's when he was the lead pastor at a church up in St. Louis. But then they voted him out after, I think, a couple years. The board basically fired him. And then after that, it wasn't until here like a couple months ago, after like a decade, he finally got like a small country church like an hour south from here to take him as a pastor, which, I have mixed feelings about, but
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's a high paying job, I would imagine, right? It's like, if he's working in it. So it sounds like he was shopping at that point. And your experience as his son is like your dad's shopping for his next job. Maybe, is that how it felt?
Oh, he's been doing that for a long time. But part of the issue for him has been he's divorced. He's a single father. And a lot of churches around here, they don't want a single pastor, or much less a divorced one. So, they want like the woman to be there for all the women in the church and to, organize meals and events and stuff like that. When it's just, a guy, that a lot of times they just turn him down like automatically.
But so in that situation, there is a church though, that's an hour from St. Louis that chose, that your dad basically applied for, and they take him in, and then you're living with your dad alone at this time.
At this time, I have my own apartment.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So he's still a pastor now?
Oh, well, he just became a pastor again recently. So,
wow. Rinse and repeat. Oh, okay.
There was like
there
was like a 10-year gap where he was looking, but no churches would accept him. And then just here recently, he got another opportunity, and he hasn't been, I would say personally, super grateful, but it's his life, his circus at the end of the day. So
sure. Yeah. Do you feel like, is that okay with you that he's a pastor still, like where you're at in your life with all that you've been through? Like, is this okay with you that your family's still in ministry?
I would say he's the only one left that really is in that. My mom doesn't really have anything to do. She still believes, she's still Christian and everything, but she doesn't really go to church or anything anymore. But when it comes to my dad being a pastor again, I feel like I would be okay with it if I knew like he was different or changed or grew in some way. But the evidence that I've seen recently suggests that he really hasn't, based on a lot of what my little brother has been telling me, and there's a lot I could say about my dad,
Yeah,
I'm sure you could. Yeah. And that's like where I was talking with you, is that it's for, I'm going to say us, because we relate with you so much, is that me and Zach have talked a lot about how religious trauma and parental trauma, kind of go hand in hand. When you're raised as a pastor's kid, or you're raised this heavily in the church and organized religion, it's really hard to decipher parental trauma versus religious trauma. They kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And it sounds like there's a lot of similarities there. Before we get on to like the next thing, we're just, because you're our first guest and interview, like the Zoom is saying it's about to stop recording because we don't have it upgraded to. We're not
on paid subscription to it. You only got like 45 minutes.
But let us call you right back. I'm going to start another meeting and I'll message you, and that'll be like a good break because,
I have some questions.
Zach has some questions just about like what you typed up. And I know that was like a really, really amazing, like detailed personal expression that if you're comfortable with, we'll probably put a link to that just in this interview.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So if people wanted to read it, but it's up to you.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Cool. Let us give you a call back.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
we'll
give you a
call
call
your-
back. I don't want it to cut out.
We're going to cut
Yeah.
here and then bring it right back.
Sorry about that, brother.
Oh no, that's all good.
Yeah, we'll just end up paying for a subscription at probably one of these days, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. So
The
something.
subscriptions can.
Yeah. No, we've. I mean, now that we're doing this podcast, man, and treating it as like a business, we've just gotten locked in on so many monthly payments. One to distribute the podcast, and then also to like help edit it. We have like an Adobe subscription, and at first it was like just do it all. We want to do everything, and then now it's every month.
Well, they say businesses
Pumping it
have,
up.
you have a budget. Our budget's endless because it's just our bank account.
Yeah, it's just like I got a bank account, I got a credit card.
We're in the red now. We can't really do the podcast until we're back in the green. So got to go to work.
Feels that way.
Oh man.
So I know we were talking, and because I'll probably cut it. I don't know. We'll probably throw a lot of this B-roll in there because it makes it more organic. But
Yeah.
just kind of focusing. I know we we're talking about parental versus religious trauma. Zach had some really great questions. Just reading off of that's why I was talking about that post you made. So if you're listening right now on Reddit, you can go to the link on our YouTube channel that we have in this video. That is going to be a direct link to Austin's experience, his life experience with the church and his family. And in directly related to that, Zach had some pretty interesting questions.
So you mentioned that I think it was when you were 15. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's when you went to the psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I was committed to that.
Yeah. And you said that your dad threatened you or threatened to send you back to the psychiatric hospital if you didn't go to church.
Yes. The day after I was released from the facility was a Sunday. So Sunday morning, the next day after I spent like a whole week in a psychiatric facility, he got me up and said, "Oh, it's time to go to church." And yeah, you think he would, let me rest or something, but no. And I remember I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or anything, but a lot of times my dad interprets disrespect as just disagreeing with him, So I was just kind of complaining about it, and I remember we were about to pull into the church parking lot, and he just turns the truck around and starts going home and starts threatening to send me back, saying that he doesn't know what to do with me. And he just, there's definitely a pattern of behavior there,
Oh, totally.
Of just kind of lashing out at very strange times and just not saying the absolute worst thing at the worst time,
Yeah.
So
kind of more, like so sporadic type of communication.
Yeah.
Something that I really struggled with just in relation to that is kind of like this ultimatum to be in the family as your family, being raised in this family. The ultimatum is you have to be Christian. And if you're not Christian and you're not going to follow this religion, then you don't have a family anymore. And like that threat as a 15-year-old or as a 10-year-old, this even 17-year-old, 18-year-old is like so destructive. It's like, oh, you have to go to church. Sorry, you got sent to a psychiatric hospital, but you have to go to church, and that's that. Or you're not gonna be part of this family. I don't know what to do with you. How did that, like, for me, it was almost like I couldn't even, if I wanted to not be a Christian anymore as a child or even have those thoughts, I couldn't even have them because then I couldn't be in my family anymore. I felt like it was threatened.
Yeah. Yeah. I relate a lot to that. I relate very heavily to that. My dad, when I was about, I think 15, maybe 14, he straight up told me that if I'm not a Christian, I'm not his son. So, and those words I'm never going to forget. That's going to stick with me the rest of my life.
Well, and as a kid, the last thing you want to do is lose a parent. So of course you're going to like take that to heart and keep diving into Christianity as much as you could. If you don't want to lose your dad,
lose your dad, or you have your dad
boot you out,
push you away, cut you out.
Yeah.
which is impossible, right? It's like not like you can't actually get cut out of the family.
You can't change your DNA, but they can try as hard as they want.
I mean, he certainly tried as much as he could to try to corner me in, but there were a lot of times where I just started. I don't know what you would call it psychologically or medically speaking, but I just became so overwhelmed that I had to leave. I had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I ran away like maybe about 4 or 5 times throughout high school.
Wow. Where would you go?
A lot of times, different places. A lot of the time, my first time was when I ended up in the psychiatric facility.
Yeah.
I had a friend who he lived in a house by himself because I forget really how that whole situation happened, but he was like 17 living in his own 2-story house. So I left without my dad knowing. He went to the store and I left whenever he did, right after. So I go to my friend's house and I know where he left the spare key. So I go in there and it turns out he wasn't there. And eventually a policeman is knocking on the door and, they're like, "Oh, why are there, do you live here?" And I was like, "No." So they said I could have possibly been charged with trespassing, but I mean, no charges were ever pressed because they knew me and everything. But he ended up bringing me back to my house, just because that's the law. Runaway kid, you got to bring them back. And I go in the door, and there was a lot of screaming, and there were a lot of times where I feel like moments were so intense emotionally that I really don't remember a lot of what was said to me or what I said. It's like a memory blackout.
Yeah, you suppressed them.
So we were having a screaming match, and my dad said, I don't know what else to do with you. I'm just gonna take you to the hospital. And so he went in to go get his clothes on, and that's when I ran into the kitchen and went for a kitchen knife and held it to my throat. And my sister was there, my older sister. She was screaming for my dad, and my dad. Of anything I can say about him, I would never fight my dad. He would take my ass down, pretty quick. So he charged me, wrestled the knife away, and then my sister held me down. My dad called the police again, and then they ended up taking me to the hospital and committing me to a psychiatric facility. And funnily enough, whenever I go to the hospital that they sent me to, that friend whose house I went into, that's where he was. So,
synchronicity in a bad way.
And it was like 4 hours south from where this town is. So the whole situation was just
how wild, man. Yeah,
surreal.
so you go to friend's house, he's not there, he's at this psychiatric hospital then, right? Your friend. And then cops arrest you, take you home. How old were you then? 15. So then the only way out, you decided at that time, or the way you feel so threatened, right? I get that time in your life, so you run away.
Well, and hopeless too.
Yeah, and just like putting it all into perspective. And then, so that's like one way at that age, 15, to handle, right, this, like, I need to get out of here, I need to run away. And then that doesn't work. So then at that time, do you think you were making a sporadic choice, or have you dealt with suicide kind of in a way to escape or run away? Is that something that you've dealt with?
I've dealt with that for a very long time. I was diagnosed officially around early middle school with severe clinical depression. and I've struggled with like substance abuse, self-harm, all the things that go with that. And um, and for my dad to try to understand mental illness, it just went right over his head like every time.
Yeah.
When were you
always,
diagnosed?
I was I must have been 13 or 14.
Oh wow! So you were young.
Yeah. So in that moment, yeah, I think it was a very sporadic decision. I don't really remember thinking about it. I think my body just moved, in a way. And
I appreciate you just being so vulnerable right now, Austin.
Yeah, thank you.
Honestly, and suicidal ideation, clinical depression. These are, when a few casts ago, when me and Zach went through the Wikipedia of just religious trauma syndrome, and it's like religious trauma syndrome being this umbrella, and then everything else kind of teeters under it, and like major depression disorder and suicidal ideation, anxiety, and lashing out, sporadic behaviors, relationship, all of these things kind of come under that. And I know with that post that you put on the forum, it sounds like you being diagnosed with major depression disorder at 14, 13, having sporadic behaviors, running away, trying to figure this out, and then being forced into psychiatric hospitals, being forced to go to church right after them. At any time in your life, did any of these therapists or any of these experiences even ring the term religious trauma, or anything like that?
Not once. And I'll tell you, I mean, I know a good reason likely why is because my dad refused to let me go to a therapist unless they were Christian. I wasn't allowed to see a secular therapist. So, obviously they're not going to attribute, that to that. And they're just going to, say like, oh, well, your parents got divorced, and you're dealing with that whole situation. That's more of what they attributed it to.
Now, the therapist that you had, these Christian therapists, did they use Christianity to try to heal you?
Sometimes. I mean, I remember a lot of times I told them that I didn't really want that. Whenever I was finally by myself with the therapist, and a lot of them, they did do a pretty good job of trying to like kind of go around that. But there were also a good amount who were just very adamant, like, oh, this is what you need to do, go to church, and, God can help you through all of this. And not really talking to me from like a medical or even vaguely like realistic perspective,
Did these I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you had your first therapist was a Christian therapist, and we've talked about this on this cast that like, even for you didn't even have an awareness of like different type of therapy outside of the church until you had a therapist that wasn't Christian, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I had like multiple mental breakdowns when I was a kid. And like my first one was 10, second one was 15. Then I had a really bad one at like 17. And I didn't start even going to therapy until I was about 19. But that was in that time, that was about 11 years ago when I first went to therapy. Therapy was just so like kind of frowned upon. And you only went there if you were like the mentally insane, not even if you just had some issues. And I was already worried to go to therapy. And I didn't think I had anxiety. I thought I had like, an issue or a problem. And in reality, it's just such a real thing that everyone deals with. But the therapist that I was first with was a Christian therapist that same thing. I asked him not to use Christianity, but it would always come up and he'd always mention it. And then, at some point I just realized it wasn't working for me. And I just didn't go back to therapy until about 24, and everything changed after that because you get a normal therapist that looks at you as a human.
It's like you get what's wild is your parents or they send you to the psychiatric hospital because you're having a child break. You're like a kid. You're just having a normal breakdown under such insane stress. At 11, you were told to preach to this 800 person congregation. I'm just thinking of like
what's supposed to happen?
What builds up to you being like, Dad, I am a pastor just like you. Listen to me. And he's like, you're 13. You're going to the hospital. It's like, it's so hard to know how to like be a parent when you're a kid and then being forced, you know? And so that sort of get me the fuck out of here. Like, get me out of this place, out of this space. So you run away and then it ends up at 15, you know, like that is, you know, so scary. And so for a parent, I would imagine he's in a state of panic. Like, this is my kid sick. And if you could just maybe take, as we talked about earlier, like a simple step back, like just zoom out everybody and stop.
Right.
It's almost like these systems that are in place, they can't stop. Systems can't stop. They're just going to continue. Your dad, your mom, you know, like whatever it is. And then here you are and you're like threatening their system and however that looks. And so they're like, their way of handling it by keeping the system safe is by like removing you out of the picture and putting you into the most pinnacle form of psychotic behavior. Like, you belong here now outside of me because I don't know how to parent that. There's no way I can even know how to talk about that. My system's threatened. You come out of it. We're going to church. And it's like, man, the system is so strict that like to budge out of it, there isn't any hope. There isn't any hope outside of like leaving that system. And so at 15, it sounds like you using that as just a familiar thought I had at that same age. I didn't really even know it was like suicidal ideation or anything. It was just kind of like, it was like, I also had experiences, you know, in our family of, you know, running away and sneaking out a lot of the times, getting caught until it got to the point of where, you know, they did boot me out and things, you know, and even to this day, me and my parents completely disagree on anything that has to do with this past experience for me, being kicked out or me leaving or me needing a way out. And it's never, there's no agreeing on the experience. And it's almost impossible for them, it seems, to hear my experience like outside of it. Like, I'm not crazy. And the things I did then, like you're saying, I can barely even remember I was a kid. And it's like that conversation alone seems to be nearly
and every like 14 to 18-year-olds doing crazy shit. And to be looked at as a young kid wanting to do fun stuff with normal people that aren't part of this crazy religion that you were raised in, and then to have it be frowned upon. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You're not supposed to be like, I want to be human. Like, let me be human.
How do you break free?
And the only way to break free is to give up everything in your family and find this world for yourself. And it's so fucking unfair.
Yeah. And,
it really is.
It's terrifying, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I haven't had much support from, you know, any family members or anything. But at the same time, it's kind of rewarding in a lot of ways too. Everything's new, you know?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard like heavy metal music, the first time I heard like Eminem, you know?
Yeah.
I was like in like middle school or like high school.
Yeah.
And because I was never exposed to anything, to like
Would
anything.
It make you feel guilty at all? Would you struggle with guilt at all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah. Especially whenever I was in that like, oh yeah, yeah.
Can I just say I just want to, what you said was like, I think what you said was like, but it's cool. It's okay because everything's new now or everything. And like, I know you just talked about guilt, but I just feel like talking about these experiences you had at 15 to you being 20 now, and to be able to, for you to be able to say that's pretty like, that's amazing growth to be in that place and to be present. And I guess like, is there even a way, can you even describe like, how did you get there? How did you get to a place of feeling like where you're at now? I mean, I imagine that it doesn't always feel that way. It doesn't always feel great. These new things, right? Sin. And I think that's what you're getting at, right? Is like these new things, do they cause guilt even though that they're new? You know, maybe you can explain that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I remember just like watching YouTube when I was a pretty young kid, and like, I was like Minecraft videos, you know, and shit like that. but they curse, they use like profanity. And just that alone, I felt so guilty about. And like I was betraying my family and my dad and God. And, like, because I was always told if I expose myself to that type of material, then it's going to like infect me with the world, and I'm going to become
of the
world. Yeah.
Were you
exactly.
ever told the sentence, we've talked about it a couple of times, especially on, I think it was episode 15, but where it be in the world, but not of the world. Were you ever told that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my whole life, man.
Yeah.
Like,
the most psychotic sentence I think I've ever realized is psychotic is be in the world, but not of the world.
It's not necessarily, I mean, maybe the statement's psychotic. It makes you
feel
psychotic.
Because it's like, hey, be human, but don't be human.
Yeah.
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 It's impossible.
Do you feel that? Don't feel that anymore.
Don't feel that. Does it feel good?
Yeah.
Well, then it's bad.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Ridiculous.
Well,
So
not even that. I just want to say this real quick. Touch base with that. Negative things were also shunned from me. My dad, he anytime I was ever angry about anything, he straight up told me I can't express that because it's sinful. And even though it's a human emotion, everyone experiences anger. So instead of teaching me how to process and deal with it, he just told me to not even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
No, not at all.
Wow. Yeah, that's like, yeah. It's
keeping
his system,
keeping the system going. Yeah,
keeping the system going. It's like
exactly.
you're threatening this is the way I operate, and it's worked for 30, 40, 50 years, and you're threatening this. That's how the human body works. That's how, like, if there's a person that works in a company and they're like losing their minds and like starting fights, the CEO is like, we've got to take you out, man. You're ruining the system here.
Yeah.
So in certain ways, like for you learned like at 15, you're like, this system isn't working for me. It's like, and it's so you're trying to figure out how to just be a kid or be a functioning homeostasis, right? Balance, how to have balance in life when every time you maybe get a little bit closer, tell me if I'm wrong, to balance, you're being told you can't do it that way though. You have to do it this way. And then you're like, but you're not even balanced, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even balanced.
Exactly.
And so it makes it nearly impossible. Just because I know our conversation could keep going and going, what I want to ask you is, from all the therapy that you've had, the experiences of being forced into these hospitals and forced into church, how have you gotten, like, what therapy have you had to get here? Or like just the way you're talking about yourself and like the way that you see the world and you walk into the world, you have this function, you work at a plastics company, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
And so you have a full-time job, living with your girl. These are things that I say are like highly successful relationship goals that I've wanted, and have accomplished, and like maintaining a job. And, you're not 15 anymore, running away from home. And I would imagine, like in your own way, but here you are in another relationship. How are you handling these things now as an adult and in your relationships?
It's difficult sometimes. A lot of times it's I try to focus on, I guess, what's relevant to me now versus what would have been relevant to me back then. It's, I feel like a lot of times, sometimes I am like still processing it and still dealing with it. And it doesn't, actually, like whenever you guys went on the break, I got a text from my younger brother. And we had like a whole like verbal altercation with my dad recently. And so he's kind of receiving the blunt end of that now because he's the kid. He's the vulnerable one. And
how old is he?
He's 13. So
super young.
Yeah. So when it comes to stuff like that, I feel like I'm constantly switching between wanting to see, like looking at my dad in the way I wish he would be versus seeing how he actually acts, and it's a very melancholy feeling to realize, and just kind of try to accept that, your parent isn't, they're probably never going to act like the parent you need them to be,
Mm. And do you blame the parent or do you blame the religion?
That's a really good question. I would say honestly, both to a degree, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Our dad, he became a Christian at 17, and then converted our mom when she was like 17 as well, and he was like 19. But I look at him kind of being, and he'd kill me if he ever heard me say this, which luckily he doesn't watch this podcast. He's not going to hear it.
That's good.
But he was brainwashed.
We don't know that for sure.
At 17 is the way I like to look at it. And then ever since then, it's been the religion has control over him and his family, right. And all the trauma that I've looked at him and my mom and they've put upon us as religious trauma is because they believe this religion and they believe it so deeply that they'll die for it and they'll lose their family for it because they're right. supposed to do. And I look at it as if the religion wasn't there, I don't think these issues, I think the issues would be different. And I more put a lot more blame on the blinding believing with faith, believing without seeing, do what the Bible says. Don't question the Bible. You're never supposed to question the Bible. Yeah. And I look at that as that's the root of the problem. But I do agree with you that it could go both ways as well, that the person and the religion are also the issue.
Right. Another reason I say both is just because, I know, I guess I have a theory at least as to why my dad has a lot of his behaviors that he has now. And I think a lot of it comes from his mom, around the same time I was committed to the psychiatric hospital was the same time she passed away. But wow. Looking back, she was always, she was always
that's powerful of you, man.
She was always very manipulative. And like, I remember a lot of times if she loved baseball, she loved watching baseball. But if I didn't give her the TV remote exactly when she wanted, suddenly she's fake crying and saying that I don't love her anymore. And she would say that to all of us kids. And now I'm in the situation where I'm 20 and having issues with my dad, and it's kind of reminding me of those times with my grandma that it's kind of the same behavior, guilt trip, manipulative, mindset. So
totally.
What about like you and then your girl? Do you like manipulate her to get the remote every once in a while? And you're like, oh shit.
No. We try to be even there. Try to just watch what we both like. My dad's not a huge fan of my lady.
Oh wow.
Does she have any religion in her past at all, or is she not?
Oh no. I don't think I could honestly be romantic.
Yeah, you're like, I'm looking for I'm falling in love with atheists only from this point on, dude. I need rock people. I need people that worship dirt.
Oh man.
Man, there's this. Zach had like 10 questions he wrote out. Yeah. And but
I've been going through them. I
think this is honestly, Austin, like, this is like a really good stopping point just for us, just because I think we're going like 40 minutes in, and we're gonna debrief a little bit after we hang up with you and just kind of finish off the cast. But one of the things I wanted to mention is like everything that you're saying. I feel like we kind of got lucky, like really blessed with you, which is, I don't know if that's a religious term, comes from the church, blessed. But you're really awesome, man. You seem like, you're 20 years old. And when I think about when I was 20 years old, not like I'm anything older or whatnot, but I was moved out at 17, right out of high school, and was in and out of relationships and went to college and like didn't really fully start figuring out. I was in and out of therapy at times, but like didn't really fully start making connections with really religious trauma, like actual religious trauma, and thinking of it like the way we're talking about it together until me and Zach started this cast.
Yeah.
And I didn't really fully start having true but I would say for me personally, growth in my relationship with my partner, Megan, until I started therapy right at the beginning of the pandemic. Right. And so when you talked about, like, does it ever end? And, and I asked you, like, how did you get to where you're at now? I really liked that you kind of mentioned just how you do have a little brother, but even if you didn't, I think personally for me, like being a mental health junkie, and that sounds so like stupid to say, but that like for me to be happy, I've learned that I have a lot of work to do. It started when I was like 13, 14, figuring things out. And then I feel like I got a huge jump start than anybody else that I knew at the time about learning who I was and my character and my personality, and so much that my dad raised me on communication. I felt so lucky to have that, and that I was able to like use those, tactics and all of that knowledge to like benefit my mental health process. But that I just had therapy yesterday. Me and my, partner we have a therapist together. So I have two therapists. I know like me and Zach talking with him, this feels like therapy. And you being our first person we're reaching out, like, I'm just hearing you talk, the way you're talking, man, you're hitting all of our values. Is like, you're talking with your little brother, which obviously sounds intense because you're a parent. You've always been a parent. It sounds like your whole life.
Yeah.
And that like, but that your, what was I say? The growth that you've had and like your ability to, what was our value? I was going to say there's like an actual value. Oh yeah. Keep practicing is like one of our mottos that we're trying to, like, we have found with us that like, I feel like I fail all the time with my partner, but I realize it's not failing. It's actually like, this is an opportunity to keep practicing, not blowing up. This is an opportunity to keep practicing, not replicating the same trauma or the same, I don't want to call it like system that's been handed down time and time again in our families.
Right.
And
breaking the cycle.
Yeah. And so, I think we got lucky with you because I don't know, like,
well, and I also like you're 20 and you're doing a lot for 20 on approaching your trauma and approaching how you want to better your life. And you're only 20, man. You got so much time until you're 30, so much time until you're 40, and you're only going to get stronger the more you like put effort in to fix the issues that were enforced upon you as a child. That so many kids, at least that now I've grown to learn, didn't experience the same trauma that we've all three experienced. And there's something so real about it. And
I've never experienced anything that like shit you've been through, man.
It's all different, and it's all
very different.
Yeah,
it's unique.
But so through these experiences and through everything we've been talking about, and just like your wild times being raised in this religious trauma environment, what is some of, like, if you could think of any advice to other 15-year-olds, other even 18-year-olds, other 20-year-olds, or anybody that is really coming to terms with the religious trauma and really addressing it, what is your advice that you could give to them to not feel so hopeless? Because I feel like when you let go of your religion after you've been raised in it for that long, it almost feels like it's impossible, and that you're doing the wrong thing and you're going to live a sinful life now and you're quitting and blah, blah, blah. You start to put all these things to your head. And then when you go to this forum or whatever, and you see other people are feeling the same way, for me, it's like a breath of fresh air. But like, what is something that you could say is like a positive thing that you can do, that you do, or that other people can use as like a way to help their religious trauma?
I would say, I gotta think about that one for a second. I would say that, I would say that it's a good thing to analyze the past, but don't make that who you are. And I feel like I've struggled with that a lot. Trying to not make, my mental health issues and everything that I've gone through, my experiences, I discovered that that's just what I've gone through. It's not who I am, and that would be all I can think of right now.
But, no, that's great, man. I vibe that a lot.
I mean, I'm like receiving that, and not even in a weird way, but it's just like, I was just telling Megan that, that, I mean, every day is another opportunity to keep practicing of this does not have power over me, right? This too shall not have power over me. And then you and I have been saying like this does not define me, but this is how I'm feeling, period.
Yeah.
Like defining the feeling, saying how it's making me feel, period. That's it. Leave it.
Yeah. Like just acknowledging the
Like,
feeling.
I'm not saying this like it's not the power. It's like, but this is what's going on. I don't know what to do with it. And that's okay. Like sometimes there's not, but that, that's like a powerful way to say this too has no power over me. It's like, these elephants shall not get me down. I have the elephant. These elephants will not get us down.
Yeah.
But dude, it's funny. We're picking up rain through the mic right now.
Is that from us?
It's from us. Yeah. It's our mic picking up the rain.
Yeah. It's probably raining pretty hard.
Is it going to start flooding?
We don't get much rain here in California. And so when we get rain like this, it's like, oh, everyone hunker down. It's going to flood. And really, it's not that much rain. Like in the South, I lived in New Orleans for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Some of the storms y'all that have come through there are just fucking wild, dude.
Yeah.
Insane.
I would say where I live, it's kind of close to the whole Tornado Alley area.
Yeah.
So every Monday at noon sharp, there's a tornado siren test just to make sure that it's working. And that's every Monday all year round, every year.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
For us, it's fires. You, it's hurricanes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Used to not always be fires. That's a new thing. But
Well,
now it's our reality.
Well, dude, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and
thank
having
you so
this.
much.
I know
Having
there's
you guys.
so much. Yeah, thanks for bearing with our technical difficulties, which is classic. But I also wanted to say that we don't even know where we're going from here. You might be the only person we interview for a while until we figure out our next steps. But I'd love to have you back on our cast.
Definitely.
I know that we are busy as hell. I really hope that. Do you have a therapist right now? Or are you in therapy?
At the moment, no, I'm not. That's just not a lot of good options where I live and with my insurance at the moment. But I've been
it's
trying to
fucking
look,
tough.
So it is, man.
And I feel like we could have gotten more into like what's out there, but I think that this is this feels like to me like therapy, to be able to the vulnerability, the nervousness building up to this, building a relationship with you and a connection across the country around some similar trauma is like, we're building a community around our trauma of the religion that we're talking about. And that's our goal. And so I really feel like you're a part of the team. And
Definitely.
so
I appreciate
and
it,
that's
guys.
like, whenever shit gets like you feel super alone, maybe you can think about those boys.
Well, you can always reach out, dude.
Yeah,
We're
seriously.
always
That's the thing.
here.
That's what I was going to say.
The goal of this podcast is to create a community, create a support system. Because like you said, there's nothing really, like there's stuff there, but there's not enough. There's got to be more.
Yeah,
we can build it.
Anything that you experience, we don't have answers, but as much as I think that we can be available, I think that that's like, it just feels good that it's like the forum, you know, it's like, it feels good that there's a forum that you can post on and ask questions and there's real advice. And then now hopefully more podcasts start up of people talking about the hard shit that a lot of religious individuals, really a lot of haters out there, you know, they don't want us talking about this.
Oh, totally.
A lot of
just
victims,
go through the comments on our videos.
A lot of people, even on our close friends and families and stuff like that, are upset. And so it's a difficult thing to like build community around, I think, and feel positive and healthy and supportive. So thank you for making us feel a lot less crazy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun to edit this.
I'll be looking forward to seeing like the final product as well in a couple weeks. So
man.
we're
going to blast you.
Yeah. We're going to blast it all over the cast. We're going to blast it all over the short.
Yeah. We're going to have shorts on TikTok. Yeah. It'll be good. And we'll send you all the info on it. And then appreciate you, bro.
All right, Austin. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend, man.
Later.
That's it. He's gone. For some reason, the Zoom shut off, but here he is. He's stoked. We're stoked. That was so epic.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a really epic first conversation. I don't know. I feel like we got really lucky. Thank you so much, Austin.
Yeah, thank you, Austin.
He
just did such a great job
bro.
at talking vulnerably and also just continuing the conversation. He's great at this.
These pastors' kids, man, are just cursed. I feel like I want to talk to somebody that's not a pastor's kid, just be like, see, not everyone's a pastor.
Yeah.
Just like I felt like I was looking in a mirror sometimes. Like I just related with Austin so
really
much. Yeah, that was powerful. I feel like there was so much we could have talked about. It's interesting. Like I never really would have imagined when you and I, Zach, like talk about a community. I never would have imagined this is how we would like build a certain type of community. Like we've done blouse music, huge communities, and
EDM music, dance music,
dance music, and like being in bands, huge communities, and people that follow it and like want to be part of it. And this is kind of our little band and our new DJ group, or our new thing that we're performing on and trying our best to be honest. How do you feel like that went? Do you feel like that was a good, honest performance, talking with somebody and like bringing them into this?
Oh, I think it was perfect. I think it was everything we wanted it to be. And I think it was 3 dudes talking vulnerably about their trauma.
Yeah.
And
of different ages.
And it was really
different spaces.
A breath of fresh air to hear some of his trauma, as dark as that sounds. It felt good to be able to relate and to know that even at a Christian church in Missouri, there's very similar things said.
Christian culture
is very similar, and we only know one of that culture, and that's going to be the Calvary Chapel Christian.
Now we know a couple more.
Or
we know a little bit more about Austin's experience. And it's just, I think like what's so interesting, maybe as we're going to learn talking with more people that had similar religious upbringings, this like how hard it is to mix parental and religious trauma and how they kind of go hand in hand. And you and I have talked about that a lot. And so it's like, it's going to be interesting to see, I don't even know what I'm getting at. I'm kind of just blown away with how wonderful that talk was and how good it feels to be building a community. It's even hard to debrief on that conversation because it felt so, we did all there. And so,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say anymore about it.
Well, I think the interview speaks for itself. And at this point in the podcast, the interview's going to be seen. So I think we're just reflecting on it. And I just feel good that went the way it did.
Yeah,
and
I was so nervous building up to this, like not in a talk. I don't ever get nervous talking with people. I don't ever get nervous doing.
I was more nervous. Yeah, I was more nervous about everything working. We have a lot of different our setup is pretty intense. A lot of different things that we have to keep track of, and we have no one else helping us. And so there's some things that could have gone wrong, and it did go wrong in the beginning. And for the first 20 minutes, we couldn't get his audio to work. And so it was very stressful. But then, once we sat down and we got going and we got at that second session where we called him back, we had a good 30 minutes where we didn't have to do anything. We could just talk.
It's just intense. What we're doing right now is just intense, man.
So intense.
What we're doing on this podcast is crazy. It feels, and I mean, like, if you're watching this and you don't feel the same, that's fine. I think that the amount of work we're putting in and then just meeting this individual, Austin, and building a friend, like he feels like a connection, like a partner in this community that we're building, and a lot of similarities.
Something you mentioned that I feel really peaceful about and really good about is reconnecting with the people we have on this podcast and checking in on them. Because even like listening to his trauma and everything, I'm now like engaged and I want to see him. Grow.
It's hard. I think that I 100% agree, and I think that's. I don't even know how that looks, but I did not imagine in a million years that we would be doing this much work to meet one person and talk to them about religious trauma. Is that what it takes to connect with people with religious trauma? Is start a podcast, go to episode 18 and then make it happen. And I don't know, maybe unfortunately or fortunately for us, that is how we process, and that's how we get to this point. But
dude, I guarantee you, if we kept doing this for 5 years, think about that. If we kept doing this for 5 years, guarantee by that time we'd be doing seminar tours.
5 years?
I know. Please, God, no.
What's happened over this? Please, God. Please, no. I would love to. I think that I don't even know. I don't even think it'd be like as long as we stay present, we get to meet people similar. That might make us feel a lot safer with what we're doing here, man. It's like interviewing Austin right now, just sitting here. I don't even know what to talk about him or about the interview. It's more of like what I'm feeling is like less pressured in our family. I'm feeling less overwhelmed by the local churches and like us talking about these things, and how whether that many people watch it or not, the act of what we're doing feels, overwhelming. And we know that things in our family can feel overwhelming. And so just as Austin, it sounds like what he was saying is he just feels good that he's not alone in that forum. It's like, I just feel the exact same way. It's just mutual. You and I have the ability to do this. We're extremely lucky, and we're motivated, and we're hardworking when it comes to technology and digital productions. And we've had a lot of experience on how to get it right and to try to do it right in terms of quality. And then right now, I feel like we have a lot more purpose being here together, doing this by just meeting other people on here and like recording it, hopefully having an honest and vulnerable conversation about our experiences and then sharing them. And I hope that that process that we've gone through is seen as honest. That's what I would want. I would want people to trust that we are being humans on this performative podcast with someone else who's vulnerably posting on a forum on Reddit, and all of it adds up to us building a relationship with somebody and building a bigger community. And like, so, I just think that to me is magic, and that magic it's not magic, like mystical. It's more of like magic takes hard work to make happen.
Well, and a lot of synchronicity
And a lot of vulnerability and a lot of risk.
I think that's what I'm starting to learn in this go around of this art project that we're doing, because we always go through different art projects that we do together. In this one, I'm starting to learn that vulnerability is powerful.
Vulnerability is like a key to success.
Key to success. Whatever that success looks like for you.
Whatever that success is vulnerability, I think it just to feel safe.
Yeah.
Is that what it requires to feel safe for us, is to be like extremely vulnerable with one another?
Well, and when you're raised like in the way we were raised, there's not much safety. And everything Austin was talking about is there was really no way out. It didn't feel like there was any way out. It felt very unsafe and it felt very forced. And I think looking at what we're doing, we're trying to build something that offers a little bit more safety for these people stuck in these environments.
I think it's just not, for me.
Well, I mean, for sure.
I think like maybe this is what I'm learning. We benefit. I don't want to disagree with that. I'm just saying that like that's the savior complex. I don't even know if we are going to help anybody. I know we just made a connection with one person who is like, that's all of that's just real. And it's just real. Like, where do you go from here? I think that's all it is. It takes a lot to have a conversation about these things. And maybe when it's more on a stage and performative for a pastor's kid, for us being pastor's kids, this is our zone. This is where we feel at home. Maybe I don't know when I speak for Austin, but he felt so comfortable and he felt a lot of his experience. Like I know what that feels like to be thrown on a stage. I know you do as well. Yeah. To be doing this, talking vulnerably about the things of the Lord. Here we are on a stage, vulnerably talking about the things of our own lives. And I think there's a lot of connection to that artistic ability and creative outlet and ability under pressure to talk and communicate. It'll be interesting to see if more people with religious trauma are of similar capabilities and connect in the limelight that way, because of that pressure and that eye and that focus and like the guilt. The eye's always on you. Like, God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So the thought of like people watching and listening, it's like, yeah, but that's been my whole life. Like I've been watched and listened to my whole life and judged. So that's how it felt. It felt very comfortable. And I look forward to whoever's next and whoever wants to, talk about their experiences just makes me feel so much safer that we are doing the same thing here in a very different way. We're not the ones being interviewed, but
we want to just add people to this community.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like we're interviewing each other every time we talk. And I'm learning more and more. But
and that's what makes a good podcast too, is when you're talking about your trauma, the goal is to get you to talk more about your trauma and to get you to feel it more and to speak about it and to relate.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned so much more about your trauma just doing this cast. And
mine's way worse. Just kidding. We got a segue here to, it.
Mm-hmm.
Game.
You're going down.
You're going down. In this game,
you're probably going to beat me in this one. This one's tough.
You're going down.
We got to play with no cheating, right?
I forget is this game called Labyrinth?
Labyrinth.
Yeah. And Uncle Mark, Grandpa Spongy. This one's for you, brother. Grandpa Spongy, also known as Uncle Mark, our father's oldest brother.
Where's the marble?
It's underneath on the wood. Uncle Mark always said, tape it on the bottom so you don't lose it.
Oh.
But the piece is broken on the side, and your phone's recording, right?
Yeah.
So the piece is in the house somewhere. I have to re-glue it because, of course, it's been glued multiple times.
What piece?
Where the marble comes out on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you, Uncle Mark, for this. And if you're in the background, whatever you're hearing is a newer track or an older track that I've redone and put out. That's going to be part of our game tracks for those boys someday on Spotify and other sorts of whatever you listen to your music through. So beats by Nene, Neo Man, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so how are we doing this?
So Labyrinth is played where we have show. You can see that we have a knob on one side, knob on the other. The whole point of the game, as you can see, it's a maze, and you have to balance the marble by using only the two knobs to get from one side all the way through, following the line, not dropping in the holes. So is this a trial run, or should we get started?
Yes, and there's a lot of cheats that you can do, as you can see.
You can do whatever. I think that.
So are we going to play the cheats because
you have to follow the line?
You have to follow the line,
but
so you can't
can
cheat.
No, you can't. You can't jump through. You have to follow the line.
I always played it when I was a kid. I'd always like try to jump down
Right,
and like
of course.
slide through here, and then you try to slide through here, and you're like, I almost won, when really you didn't.
We've been playing
anything.
this game since we were very, very little.
I'll go first. I'm not gonna play well. This game is always. You've always been better at me at this game. This is one of the few games that I'm like, nah, I'm not good. I don't want to play.
Excuses. Go ahead, Zach.
All right, going for it.
Oh! That's okay. It's
I'm
okay. You
alive.
went through. You
I'm
went
alive.
through once. You can go if you go back and you already went through the line once. I like to play where like you can. Oh!
Got to 6.
He got the 6. Oh, nice catch. Okay, here we go. All right, I gotta move the mic a little bit here.
Is he gonna beat 6? I don't know. Let's put the pressure on, folks. Let's put that pressure on. Let's put that pressure on.
So one of the things I've found is like if you, oh, dude, look at this. This guy hair all over. Oh, you didn't even, man, you didn't even check your balls. You gotta check your balls before you play Labyrinth.
What are you saying?
You gotta check your balls.
What are you saying to me?
Okay, here we go. Ready? Here we go. So I like to try to find it right there. Now we're good.
Now you're good. Now you got it. You locked it in.
Locked
You're in the
it
pocket.
Oh, this is a sticky ball.
Yeah. Also, it's a little broken. That the knobs aren't as responsive as I've played with before. All right, Nate's in the lead.
Oh,
All right, you got to 10. Let's see if I can beat 10.
I got it this time. All right, Zach got to 6 the first time. I just got to 10. That's Nathan 10, Zach 6. We're gonna do 3 rounds.
Yeah, let's see who goes
Total of 3. We add up our total points. Zach has 6. I have 10. Zach right now is gunning through number 3 through the pocket there. That's like the first real test right there to see how you're gonna do. Is if you're like 10.
That 10 is tough.
Zach matches it again on the 10.
16.
16. This is round 2. So you're improving. I think that's important. It's important to know that you're improving.
Just shut your mouth. Just keep your mouth shut, mister.
And there's more hair. There must be hair on the board.
It's so.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. You see that Atmore hair?
Yeah, dude, that dog sheds like a. I mean, so does mine, but it's that white hair.
Oh, no!
Oh, you just got a 1. Sucks, dude.
Dude, I panicked. No, that was a mistake. I like flicked the wrist in the wrong way. Like
Flicking the wrist.
if you flick the wrist in the right way, it's the best. And you know, like with the pot,
This
boy.
is my last
With the
turn.
pot, boy.
Last turn right here.
Here we go. 3. Zach has. Oh my gosh, this is so nerve wracking. I hope we go to 2. This is lame if we don't even get past the first corner. I think I heard laughing outside. Maybe there's people outside. I don't know. Come on, baby. Get past the 10. Dude,
Oh, got it, baby.
Shit, I got to get a really good number then because you got 16. I have 11. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, shit, dude. You're doing great. Oh, no way, man. You're playing really good. This is a huge number for you right now. Just don't go backwards. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my. No. Holy sh.
The marble's not going through.
Oh, okay. Gentleman's game. This is probably needs to be.
Okay, here we're gonna do this. We're gonna just
Okay,
careful.
hold the marble. Hold the marble. Okay, you're gonna have to put it there.
Put it there.
All right. Currently at 29. Oh, sorry, that's at 30.
So 46.
So
Best of luck,
this
dude.
sucks. You know
You're
what?
at 11.
That probably got in the way of your groove because you were really in like.
I was really in the flow.
Which one was that? That was right by 30. So right here. Oh, that's weird. The wood. It's like changed.
It's changed over time. All right, Nate. Don't get a 1. Maybe get a 2 though. You know, I really thought you were going to beat me on this one.
Quiet.
Quite on the set. Nate's starting his roll. He's trying to get his flow in. He's trying to feel real lubricated. And
That sucker if I went right back to 1.
I mean, it would suck. I kind of want you to get close. Focus. The 6 has defeated me. Nate got defeated by the 10 beforehand. Is he going to get through the 10? Is he going to get through the 10? Oh!
Don't do that anymore, man. Don't do that anymore.
Why?
Don't. Because,
You started that.
No, but don't because it's red zone.
Dude, I won.
I got you to stop doing it though. That's powerful right there.
You might think it's powerful.
The reason why I stopped you is because in my headphones it is very painful.
So loud.
Damn it. So I got to 11. 11 plus 10 is 21 plus 1 is 22. Zach got a lot more than me. We would keep playing, but you know,
I think 3 rounds is good for
the
Labyrinth.
whole point of the cast is we have to play this again. That was easy.
That was fun. And that's a good one. Maybe we should, this is the one that Mark got you, right?
Actually, this is how they always work.
It's so glitchy.
We could get a new one.
I think we should upgrade.
Get olive oil on it because we're Italian.
Lubricate it.
We could put olive oil on it because we're Italians.
Only because we're Italian, though.
Yeah, that's why. 'Cause we're Italians.
100%.
Dude, I love you, man.
Dude,
Good
love
job.
you. Great cast.
Great
interview.
cast. Great interview.
job.
Thank you, Austin. We love you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Austin.
Zach did take the W on Labyrinth, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hope you get everything you wanted.
As of this moment, in 1 week, when this podcast is released, in 1 week from this day, my new song, Keep Coming Back, is coming out on the 30th of December.
Signs Music. Google it, Signs Music, anywhere you want. Find it everywhere.
SYNZ.
Congrats on that too, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.